$1,200 bunk bed homes. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here, my stein of coffee in hand, and I thought we would have a look at this article from CNN Business. Now I know it's CNN guys, but still, I think there's an important takeaway from this article. And this is about $1,200, and this is US, a month, bunk bed homes. Now I know this is an older piece and some people may not have seen it, but there seems to be a growing trend in the media of putting forward these, frankly, articles advocating for a reduction in quality of life and a reduction in the Human Development Index of nations. Now, if you're not familiar with the HDI, every country has a ranking. So let's jump and have a look at the definition of the HDI. Now, here we have from the United Nations Development Progress, the Human Development Report, and this is the definition of the Human Development Index. The HDI was created to emphasize that people and their capabilities should be the ultimate criteria for assessing the development of a country, not economic growth alone. The HDI can also be used to question national policy choices, asking how two countries with the same level of GNI per capita can end up with different human development outcomes. These contrasts can stimulate debate about government policy priorities. The Human Development Index is a summary measure of average achievements in key dimensions of human development: a long and healthy life, being knowledgeable and having a decent standard of living. Okay, and I would say these, like, there's articles about living in these bunk bed, accommodation, and that's going back, we'll look at it, read it a bit later, but that's going back hundreds of years to dormitory style accommodation, and that's a decline in just your capability and a decline in your standard of living. There's even other articles where people are looking at eating bugs as your meal, or reducing meat consumption, or not even having big families, not even having children, to save the planet, to keep Greta happy. I would argue these are all a decline in our standard of living. The fantastic wage growth that Australia has had, is that a decline in our standard of living? The fact that you need to have two people working just to buy a cheap house, is that a decline in our standard of living? So, the HDI is the geometric mean of normalized indices for each of the three dimensions. The health dimension is assessed by life expectancy at birth. The education dimension is measured by mean of years of schooling for adults aged 25 and more, and the expected years of schooling for children of school entering age. Well, I mean, just look at Australia's education results. They're trending down. They're certainly trending down. The standard of living dimension is measured by gross national income per capita. The HDI uses the logarithm of income to reflect the dimensioning importance of income with increasing GNI. The scores for the three HDI dimension indices are then aggregated into a composite index using geometric means. Okay, so you can see here, this is what they're all bringing together. And let's have a look at Australia. So we are ranking 0.938 on the HDI, and we've been, steadily going up since the 90s. What were we there? 0. That. We went up, we went down in 2013, 0.926, so steadily going up, and you can see where we are sitting with Australia to the world. Our life expectancy is 83.3. Our education, 22.1 years of schooling. Income comparison per composition of resources, 44,000 per capita. You can see here where it's all sitting. They've got inequality index, 0.862. Gender development index. I mean, have a look there, guys. And when people are saying there's these massive inequalities in gender in Australia, it's ludicrous. It is literally ludicrous. There's no evidence. Let's have a look at some other countries. The Central African Republic. I mean, here you go. Since the 90s, they've gone up. You can compare it to the world. Still, it's at 0.381. Let's have a look at Germany. 9.39. Slightly better than Australia, and they've gone up significantly since the 90s, and we all know why. the fall of East Germany. And their age, life expectancy 81.2. Education, less than Australia, 17.1. Maybe we're educated a bit too much here in Australia. Let's have a look at Liberia. And even there, they've gone up. Ranked 176. What are we? We're 6th. Central African Republic is 188. Germany is 4. United States, 15. 0.92. And they've trended up. And then, we can have a look at some other countries. Let's have a look at China. Let's see how they're going. You can see the index, 0.75. They're ranked 85th in the world. But look at that climb from the 90s, guys. Look at that climb. Life expectancy at birth, 76.7. Education, 13.9. A lot of people will make the argument that, oh, life expectancy was so bad in ancient times. No, it wasn't. There was a lot of ancient text written by older people. It was quite common. In Rome, you couldn't vote until you were 30. So, a lot of it has to do with mortality at birth, which has improved significantly. And if you're not familiar, guys, I would recommend that you have a look at some of the videos by Hans Rosling, because they will really destroy a lot of people's misconception about the third world and, the first world. It's kind of disappeared. A lot of these African countries, you've got some cities that are living a quality of life better than a lot of Western countries. And some of them, it's just, there's such disparities on, particularly the continent of Africa. A lot of it has to do with, I would argue, perhaps the forms of government that they have in some of those different nations. So nonetheless, let's jump back to this article, which is trying to persuade us all to the merits of pod life with an understanding of, or an introduction to HDI. So the bunk bed is $1,200 US a month and privacy is not included. Housing costs have become so expensive in some cities that people are renting bunk beds in a communal house for $1,200 a month. Not a bedroom, a bed. $1,200 a month for a bed. Podshare is trying to help make up for the shortage of affordable housing in cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles by renting dormitory-style lodging and providing tenants a co-living experience. A Podshare membership allows you to snag any of the 220 beds or pods at 6 locations across Los Angeles and 1 in San Francisco. There is no deposit and no commitment. You get a bed, a locker, access to Wi-Fi, and the chance to meet fellow pedestrians. Oh, bloody hell. Each pod contains a shelf and a personal television, food staples like cereal and ramen, high carbohydrate garbage, and toiletries like toothpaste and toilet paper are included. And what you don't get is privacy. So why? Why would you pay for this when you could enroll in the Navy and you're paid to go live like this? Let me know in the comments, guys. Or probably because if you're a white male, they won't take you these days. But that's an easy trade-off, says the mostly young people who live there. Stephen T. Johnson, the 27-year-old founder of FlipMass, an advertising company for Instagram influencers, says he can afford his own place in San Francisco, but doesn't want to be locked into renting a tiny overpriced apartment. I have a micro studio that was... Oh, I had a micro studio. What, is that bigger than this? That was $1,750 per month, said Johnson. It was less than 200 square feet. This is actually a luxury and cost less than the price I lived a couple of blocks down the street. He's been living at Podshare for 5 months and using it as a live-work space. I think anyone that's staying in arrangements like this is just early to a new form of housing. See, this is not a new form of housing. This is where they're trying to make all this crap trendy. Like Afterpay, it's just hipster lay-by. Pod living, this is just dormitory accommodation, guys. This is what the Salvation Army used to prepare, not this trendy, but similar. This is a decline in quality of life and standard of living. All of this stuff is. There's so many different living arrangements, and I think this will be just one of the options available to everyone in the future. Would you live in one of these things, guys? Have you? I guess it's better than being homeless, but this isn't a homeless shelter. This is spending $1,200 US a month. That's an insane amount of money. Although Podshare may seem a lot like a hostel, bunk beds in a shared room, for example, the company prefers to call it co-living. Well, yeah, you're right. It's just like a backpackers. Podshare may not have as much privacy as an apartment. They don't even have curtains, says Ryan Ziad, 23, a software engineer living in San Francisco. But that's not a problem for him at the moment. What does matter if I'm in the right place and surrounded by the right people, and if it's efficient. Podshare allows him to live close to work, eliminating the 2-hour commute time he would have if he had moved to a suburb he could afford. As an immigrant from Pakistan, Zaid says he struggled with all of the requirements to get an apartment. I was trying to find a place to rent, he said, but I needed to have a credit score, I needed to have my tax records, just stuff like that. If you study here, you might have some of those things, but if you're an immigrant, you will most definitely not have those things. I mean, okay, I guess. Alvina Beck, Podshare's 34-year-old founder, says that she created these spaces because this is the way she wanted to live. Meeting new people, traveling to new places. But she's crafted that it provides a safe solution for others who have few options. Okay. 34-year-old, you can't raise a family in this. Can you even have a relationship in this? Is this childish? To me, it seems that way. To me, it seems another example of failure to launch, celebrating a decline in quality of living. You know, it's like having sleepover with your friends. Oh, have fun. Maybe I'm just too bitter and too old for this stuff, guys. Maybe they don't have 2 months' rent to put down, or they don't have proof of income, she says. Whether it's from a divorce, or their family kicked them out for being gay, or because they're in a different country or a different city. Oh, come on, God, what crap. You have to politicize it. But then again, this is Silicon Valley. You've got to do it. Or San Francisco, whatever, Los Angeles. You've got to do that in the States, don't you? She says when she launched the company in 2012, tenants were mostly 24 to 30, but now the typical age has pushed up into late 20s and 30s. Yes, because the people are probably still there and getting old. And while the typical user is a young person starting out or moving to a new city, that's a hostel, there are older adults who are trying out a new city and even business travelers. Home of her own with others. Beck, who is a resident of Podshare and moves among the different locations, has her sights set on a larger, affordable housing solution, membership-based housing in the cloud. Look at this. She imagines finding a home where you happen to be via a network of existing properties in which members have access to. Oh, wow. Yes, it's all live together and share together and live in our communes. Ultimately, her vision is global. The goal is to empower the global citizen and live anywhere across the world for one monthly price. A $1,000 a month membership could get you a chance to live here to Towanda, Boston. You cover the flight and we'll cover the housing. It's all included. Okay, $1,000 US a month is insane for other parts in the world. This is just ludicrous. You can also do it with backpacking. I don't understand. In 2010, when Beck was struggling to find productive work in LA, she was having a hard time finding an affordable place to live near her freelancing gigs in Hollywood. She had an idea of a scaled-up roommate model to a higher density so that the cost of living in an appealing location could be as low as possible. She figured why not split up some cost of toiletries and basic food staples too. There are fire sprinklers in here. I'm just thinking with the the high density amount of sleeping in these dormitories. What are the fire access and egress requirements here in these spaces? I mean, this would just be considered furniture, so you'd get away with having dodgy stairs and all these non-compliant things. What happens if you've got hundreds of people all trying to escape? Have they modified the buildings to suit that? I wonder. When she told her dad she was going to use her savings to build a co-living space and asked him to come to LA to help her build the adult-sized bunk beds she called pods, he didn't think it was a great idea. People don't want to live with strangers, Beck recalled him saying. They want privacy. They want lots of space themselves. You're basically taking away everything that people want. Yeah. Yes, I wonder how long people are going to live in this. But she pushed back and told him that in a desirable urban area, privacy and space are things people are willing to give up in order to be where the action is. And the community concept is critical. You have to be willing to share, she says. I think if you're not willing to share a small space with a stranger, Podshare is not for you. Maybe that's just it. Because I wouldn't be willing to share like this, guys. I want my own house. I want my own family. I want to be an adult. I don't want to be an adult living in a bunk bed. What do you think, guys? What do you think? Would you go for this? You can't invite friends over, she said. So just make new ones. So, yeah, lights out at 11. At 10 o'clock. Lights out at 10. Lights out at 10. This is like living with your bloody parents as a child. You'd have more freedom living with them as an adult and paying rent. There you go. More regression. More regression, guys. More celebrating failure to launch. More decline in the Human Development Index of these cities. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to help me produce more, I have a Patreon where you can make a small monthly donation. I also have Amazon, eBay, and Independent Reserve affiliate links, and we sell our own merch from the Heise website. Right now, we make our own pocket squares. Perfect for when you go to a dormitory-style accommodation for $1,000 a month US. I can't believe that. Anyway, guys, take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.